Hello, it is 4:18 p.m. and the date today is August 21st, 2026. So right now, the person that I have to talk about is my dad, the Greedy Framer. My dad, the Greedy Framer, has literally deceived the courts every single day by lying over and over again. Right now, a little while ago, he was heard yelling at his own Framer sisters for saying that they betrayed him. Why is he saying that they betrayed him? Mainly because they gave away to the government informant as the first thing for Ibrahim's greedy, envious mother said to the government informant that I have nothing but lies against Hassan. And then she was given one entire day to think about it by the government informant, mainly because the government is not going to let people use their national security for their own personal agenda, mainly locking up my brain savant to make sure that no one else's daughter could get the brain savant money that artificial intelligence has promised that their own daughter cannot get. Obviously, none of these people, I can guarantee the courts, are going to argue against artificial intelligence anymore, because if they do argue against artificial intelligence and say that it's flawed or bad or it doesn't work or something with it is wrong, I'm going to agree with them and say that artificial intelligence is 100% flawed, wrong, and inaccurate, due to which the courts are going to be forced into administering a 30-minute brain savant test, due to the fact that the trial is not going to be considered impartial if a major crucial piece of evidence like my brain savant, which I've been claiming is the main reason law enforcement has made all these fabricated false testimonies against me, committed all these crimes like the wedding crime, covered it over, and numerous other crimes like sex games from 2001 with Uncle Joey's in-laws, due to which they had to run sex games for Uncle Joey at the 2022 November funeral. All these crimes like the money fraud, which we know for a fact is about to start a restart if it hasn't already been run for years and years, and all these crimes that law enforcement has committed with all their BFFs in the family, with me never ever even remotely being present in any of these weddings or places where any crimes could have been committed, due to poverty being a blessing in disguise for me. Also, arguing very stubbornly that my dad, the Greedy Farmer, was not sending people to terror groups in the year 2011 without law enforcement knowing a thing about what they were talking about and me telling the truth. Turns out I haven't lied in this trial ever, whereas all these people knowingly fabricated false testimonies against me, and my dad, the Greedy Farmer, was followed around by the FBI when he used to come over to the U.S. before, due to which now his visa is banned in the U.S. and England. We know these facts about my dad, the Greedy Farmer, and that I was telling the truth that in 2011 he was encouraging people to go join terror groups, due to which he is banned in the US and England, not because of me or what he was heard doing in 2011, but due to the fact that before 2011, my dad, the Greedy Framer, sent government informants to go join terror groups, due to which now he cannot enter into the US or England ever throughout his entire life. Turns out I was telling the truth, that wasn't I, about 2011, and law enforcement were trying to cover it over, trying to make it look like he was very innocent and this and that, when in fact I was telling the truth when I said that in 2011 my dad, the Greedy Framer, was in fact sending people to go join terror groups. There are certain facts that we know about my dad, the Greedy Framer. Obviously, on November 20th, he begged his Framer sisters to fabricate false testimonies over and over again. Now, the thing that you have to know about my dad, the Greedy Framer, what you need to know about my dad, the Greedy Framer, is he is a pathological liar. He is not a medical doctor. He's never given his board exams in any country in the world ever. Law enforcement knows this as the infographics incident, where he tried to scam a hospital into thinking that he was a medical doctor, only for him to get kicked out of that hospital after they found out that he's not licensed to be a doctor in any country in the world, that law enforcement knows as the infographics incident. And you can ask them about this yourselves. So he's not a medical doctor. He's not a physician's assistant. Physician's assistant requires a college degree. My dad, he used to help out doctors at hospitals. He never got along with them. He never got along with them. He'd be yelling on the phone saying, I don't know how to read ECGs. I've only met him about 3 times in my entire life. When I saw him in the year one time I saw him in 2022, and he was yelling and screaming at people at his workplace, saying things like, I don't know how to read ECGs. And then he would ask people to cover his shift for him at the hospital, because he only works to help doctors. He's not a physician's assistant. He's not a doctor, anything of that sort of nature. And people would have a very bad attitude with him because of his attitude with them. He did not get along with them, due to which now he doesn't have a job. All he does is get a gambling thrill from this trial. Now, he also lied about going to a university in Ireland after going there. He never even went to that university's website before in his entire life. Forget going there. never even went on their website, obviously never applied there. He just heard their name, and he is a pathological liar. He lies about everything. All right, so his job that he used to do didn't require any college degrees. He just helped out hospital doctors out, and he never got along with the people he used to work with, due to which now he doesn't have a job. All he does is literally just sit at home and get his gambling throw from this trial, thinking of all these sick and disgusting ways of trying to get this money from out of me after my brain savant would get freed, while first trying to make up lies, false testimonies, exaggerations against me to try to make sure my brain savant would get locked up and no one, including my mother, would get the brain savant money that he knows he cannot get. So he's a pathological liar. He's not a medical doctor. He never has been. He never went to that university he claimed he went to in Ireland. Never even went on their website. He's a pathological liar. We know for a fact he is using this trial for his obsession with money and sex. Now, I will explain to that in a second. Now, one of the things that my dad, the greedy framer, tried to argue against me was that he said that I was a drug addict. Law enforcement went through every second I was overseas to find out that there wasn't one instance. All right, so I'm not a drug addict, okay? There isn't one instance of me being a drug addict, okay? There isn't any instances of me being sexually perverted, okay? None of these things that he said were true, okay? Right now, we also have the fact that Adam G has been caught numerous times lying over and over and over and over again. Okay, so Adam G, what these people did, Adam G didn't realize is the fact that the entire time I was overseas, the reason they were able to take out every single second I was overseas is due to the fact that they have surveillance equipment that could literally follow me around everywhere I would go. Even my whispers would be heard in that equipment, even if I would whisper in Antarctica, which is why my brain savant would stay locked no matter where I would go. So, yes, Adam G, of all people, should know about this surveillance equipment and the technology that records every single second for whenever they need to take it out and retrieve it, considering the fact that not only did Adam G get caught lying through this same surveillance equipment throughout July, but also on August the 7th, Adam G was whispering to the person he was trying to get as the fifth person, playing a game with this court and trial, saying, I've been caught lying throughout the month of July. He hasn't. He wants to testify. And he got a random person first claiming that this person knew me really well due to one text message where he used the word Johnny, which means love, and just someone when I went to pharmacy school with. And then what ended up happening was Adam G was whispering to this person, thinking that he's not going to get caught. And guess what? The surveillance equipment actually got all of his whispers due to which he was caught. So Adam G, of all people, should know about the fact that the surveillance equipment, not only can it lock up my brain savant even if I'm in Antarctica, but also that even if I whisper something, it would go on record. So Adam G, of all people, should know, especially since they went through every single second I was overseas recently, that every single second I was overseas is on record. Okay, so his theories against me are not. I'm not playing hard, benefit of the doubt. It's impossible to be true. Literally impossible to be true. Okay, so basically, yes, my dad, the greedy framer, has been using this trial for deception and lying, fabricating false testimonies against me throughout the entire time, only due to his sex addiction and his obsession with money. So there was no drug addiction or sexual perversions found against me throughout the entire time I was overseas. Instead, the entire time I was overseas, they found was that I had an eagerness and keenness for learning and studying, which was what and all they found when I was overseas. Now, my dad, the greedy framer, on the other hand, now the thing about it is the fact that I've never once in my entire life bought street drugs. For the past 10 years, I haven't even had a Robitussin syrup. Forget any of the other controls. This is Schedule 5. Schedule 1 is supposed to be street drugs. Schedule 5 is something like Robitussin syrup. I haven't even had that in at least the past 10 years of my life. So yes, this drug addiction thing that my dad, the greedy framer, is trying to play, it doesn't have any history of it, okay? Ibrahim, the greedy framer, is whom they want to get revenge for against me, who has a kidney failure right now, and there's no record of me ever being a drug addict, never once overdosing on any drugs, ending up in the emergency room, whereas a drug addict is a prime example is Ibrahim the Greedy Framer, who overdoses on drugs at least once a week, whereas there's not one record of me ever overdosing on any medication or drugs or anything of that sort of nature, ever ending up in the emergency room for anything like that. Never once. Buying street drugs, not once, despite me being watched 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child. Except for that, you don't have any record of me, ever having any addiction problems or anything of that sort of nature. And I used to take hyperactivity medication. I went and told my doctor to put in this computer system, never ever prescribe me that medication ever again, and not let anyone else do so either, making it impossible for me to ever get that medication ever again. If there was 1% chance of me wanting to be a drug addict or anything of that sort of nature, I would not do that. I know what's better for me or not. And so now we move on to my dad, the Greedy Framer. Now, the thing that you have to understand about my dad, the Greedy Framer, is not only has he been lying about everything about me, he's been lying about himself. He's not a medical doctor, never gave his board exams, any country in the world. He's gotten kicked out of a hospital before due to him telling them that he was a medical doctor, known as the infographics incident that law enforcement knows about. You can ask them. The hospital found out he wasn't licensed to be a doctor in any country in the world. They kicked him out. He lied to the court saying that he went to a university in Ireland. There's no record of him even going on their website. Forget going there. So he's a pathological liar, lied about everything, and he's right now getting his gambling through from this trial after lying over and over again and already having been kicked out of this trial after April. And I'll explain to you exactly how and what I mean by that. Now, the thing about my dad, the Greedy Framer, is his obsession with sex is something that is incredible and undeniable. Okay, there is absolutely no record of me ever being a drug addict ever in my life, not once, not ever. They went through every single second I was overseas to find that there wasn't one instant of me ever being a drug addict ever in my life, or being sexually perverted, anything of that sort of nature. And so yes, every single second was there on file, is what we also know. So Adam G is obviously a liar, whatever he said and claimed about me on July 11th. And then August 7th, he had lied so many times that he lied so many times that he tried to get the fifth person to go lie, and Adam G, of all people, should now know how good the surveillance equipment is that he was caught lying on August the 7th, despite him whispering to that other person, hoping that they wouldn't be able to catch him, but they did. He was lying again, fabricating again on August the 7th. So yes, every single whisper I made while I was overseas is on file. Even if I whispered in Antarctica, it would still be on file using this surveillance equipment that they could... that Adam G, of all people, should know about the surveillance equipment. So yes, it's impossible for Adam G to be right. Okay, I'm not going to claim the benefit of the doubt over here. All I'm saying is it's impossible for Adam G to be right. Now, the thing about my dad, the Greedy Framer, is he's obsessed with sex and he's obsessed with money, which is why he's fighting in this trial to make sure my brain savant cannot get freed, so that my mother cannot get any of the money that he himself cannot get. Now, the thing about my dad, the Greedy Framer, is recently what he ended up doing was, by the way, model parent, by the way, I'm going to show you exactly his kind of actions to try to get money or sex out of this trial that he's been using. All right, so you can actually understand how aggressively he's been fighting in this trial. The reason this disgusting man with his 5-foot-long beard that he's grown for the past 50 years is fighting so aggressively in this trial is for his sex and money and not for anything else. Okay, I will prove that to you right now. Okay, this is August the 11th, this very month of August 2026, August the 11th. He's saying, through law enforcement, by the way, so law enforcement is a witness, he's saying, I'm going to find you, Hassan, a woman from my in-laws for you to sleep with. August the 12th, he's saying the same thing. I'm going to find you a woman from my in-laws for you to sleep with, Hassan. August the 13th, he's saying the same thing. I'm going to find you a woman from my in-laws for you to sleep with, Hassan. Now, as soon as my dad, the Greedy Framer, hears from me and law enforcement the fact that I had figured out that it was his in-laws that he was trying to advertise for sex to me, he immediately calls those in-laws and says, Hassan said that, and by the way, not only did I figure it out that it was his in-laws that he was trying to advertise for incest for me, but that I also rejected it immediately, saying that I don't even talk to this man. Literally everyone in town knows about my brain savant, so the probability of me going to his in-laws, is absolutely zero, considering the fact that I'm not going to with any girl in town after my brain savant gets freed. Instead, I'm going to go get married like a normal human being does and live my life after that. And so my dad, the greedy farmer, did not want to hear that. He didn't want to even have me know that he was advertising his in-laws to me so that he could ask his in-laws before he would get rejected. Now he's already gotten rejected by me, and now he's like, oh darn it, I can't go ask her anymore if she was willing to commit incest with Hassan or not, to find out if she is the kind of person who would sleep around or not. So he goes, oh my God, I already got her rejected for incest. What am I going to do now? Now his sexual perversions are still there, which means that he knew from the start that he wasn't advertising for me, he was advertising for himself. He was advertising his in-laws, using this trial and law enforcement to me for incest, so that before I would even figure out that he was advertising his in-laws and I would even be able to reject them, he would go and ask them, and he would be like, oh, Ehsan, I feel like he might commit incest with you, and it looks like his brain savant is about to get freed. Do you think you could commit incest with him and maybe like split the money between me and you so we could both get some money? Now, my dad is in a predicament due to the fact that I have already figured out that he was advertising his in-laws for incest, and that I have already rejected him. So now he cannot go ask her anymore, knowing that I've already rejected her, and this little scheme that he wanted to run so that he could figure out which one of his in-laws would be willing to sleep around so he could himself run after them, is all been ruined. So what does my dad, the greedy farmer, do? He says, I don't care. My in-laws, she doesn't know Hassan already rejected her. I'm still going to call her and ask so I can figure out which one of my in-laws are actually willing to sleep with Hassan or not commit incest with him or not. So do the courts understand what is going on? He was obviously trying to figure out which one of his in-laws are more keen to sleeping around or not for himself and not me at all. Obviously now he knows that I don't even talk to him. What are the chances that everyone in town knows about my brain survival? It gets freed and I'd be perverted to not go with the people in town, but go all the way over to him to go run after his in-laws? Absolutely zero. So now that him and his in-laws have already gotten rejected, he thinks, oh darn it. And then he kind of thinks, I, as in my dad, the greedy farmer, knew that his in-laws have already gotten rejected. She doesn't know. So as soon as she gets rejected by me, he immediately calls her and he asks then, clearly showing that he wasn't going to ask for me in the first place. He knew I wasn't interested in anything like that. He was going to ask for himself. So he calls them at that time and he asks her at that time, and she pretty much just flat out refuses, and she says, what is wrong with you? Why would you even ask me something like that? I'm going to continue in the next video in a second.